And I'm starting this off with a bang because
Oh, cool.
I'm starting off with a bang because I got a request. And so I think we're live. Because because I got a request. Okay, we are live. So for people coming in here, hi, I'm Elle Ingalls. I'm the creator of the pressure-free method, which is an on-the-go stress management method. If you're watching this on the replay or on the recording on any of my other social channels, I'm so glad you're here tonight. It happens to be October 10th, which is World Mental Health Day. And it's a day just to bring awareness to unlock the stigma of mental health. I was really fortunate to grow up in a home where we talked about mental health. My mom was a volunteer at the state hospital in Concord, New Hampshire, where we lived. And also we would have incidents. And I so clearly remember this night. I was in 4th grade, so I was like 10 years old at the time. And I'm asleep in my bedroom, and suddenly on the outside wall, we hear rocks being thrown at our house. Kind of unusual. Concord usually doesn't have stuff like that happen. It's a pretty quiet, tame town. It's like 9 o'clock at night, rocks are being thrown at our house. Like it was just bizarre. My father went out. My mom called the police. My father went out, and it was a very scared young man who had actually somehow escaped from the state hospital. And apparently, like a couple families before us, his mother had rented that house, our house. And he found it, he knew it, and he was taking chunks of like when the asphalt breaks off on the side of the road, he was picking up those chunks and just throwing them at the house. So we had opportunities to talk about mental health. And one of my sisters actually volunteered at the state hospital along with my mom. So it was not like a taboo subject to talk about what happens to people. And so that might inform some of the things that I do currently. I never would have guessed it because my first love was this, meat brouillard. I want you to put a tool in your tool belt right up front here, and that is music. I bet you can think of a song that the moment you put it in your head, you feel great. Like you feel, I'm gonna pin myself here real quick so that I make sure that you can see me. I think you can. And I'll just pin myself, there we go. Any song that makes you feel a certain great emotion, you can put that right into your tool belt. And that can be something you can pull out anytime that you start to feel an emotion that's taking you under the line. So I'm just going to play a snippet here, and I'm going to open the chat too for my people who are on webinar. And in the comments here on Facebook, what is this song? Do you know that riff? It's one of my pressure-free songs. I ain't got no worries because I ain't in no hurry at all. So. So people dance to that, and it makes them feel good. I have never heard Oh Black Water. In fact, I came out of a restaurant and they had the music outside, and that was playing just like 2 days ago. So a song from a long time ago, from when I was growing up, still played on the radio, and pretty much everybody knows it, and it makes you feel good. So put that little tool right in your tool belt as we dive in today on really what I'm going to share with you are some myths about stress, anxiety, depression. I think there's a real breakdown, if you will, in what people think is actually happening to them. And so tonight, what I'm going to teach you about is that your biology is informing your psychology. It's not your anxiety. It's a feeling, but then a whole cascade of things can happen from that one feeling. So we're going to debunk some myths about stress, about anxiety, about depression. And I'm going to give you a couple tools so you can start right away moving into a more pressure-free life. I call my method the pressure-free method because no matter what pressures come your way, You can learn to break the stress cycle. You can learn to not release the fight or flight stress hormones. It's these nasty little hormones that cause our minds and our bodies to have so many side effects that most of us feel we can never get out of it, even if you're a fairly calm person. I joke because when I first started creating the pressure-free method, I didn't think I needed it. I thought I was a pretty calm professional. Boy, was I wrong. I get annoyed. It was annoyance that was causing me to trigger my stress response so much. And when I figured that out, it was like a key unlocking my true potential, my true self. And that's what I want to share with you tonight, that for the most part, we're not walking around in our true selves. We're walking around under the influence of the fight or flight stress hormones. So let's dive in. I could use slides, but something's telling me tonight to not use slides with you, but to just really be with you tonight. So I'm just going to really dig in and just really be here with you tonight. So we're going to start with the ABCs of pressure free. You may have heard me do this before, but every time I do it a little differently, and there's new stuff. So we'll start with the letter A. Angry or annoyed, anxious or afraid, ashamed or abused. I have a really good friend on here tonight who helps people who have gone through some pretty serious stuff, right, Scott? And when we, I'm going to mute Scott just in case. When we trigger fight or flight, one of the reasons we do so is that we're experiencing one of those emotions. So I want you to just kind of be aware in the next week or so. When do you start to feel angry or annoyed? Kind of falls in a continuum, right? Like you're annoyed, oh, now you're full-blown angry. So it's falling somewhere in there. How about feeling anxious or nervous or worried? And anytime you're afraid of something. So if you have a fear of something, fear of spiders, fear of bees. I used to have a terrible fear of yellow jackets, and we were out at a picnic today, and there were a lot of yellow jackets. At this event that we were at a baby reveal party, and a lot of yellow jackets. In the past, I would have just been like freaking out every time I saw one close by. But pressure free, I don't do that anymore. I don't overreact just because there's a bee in the vicinity of me. So take a look at that. Also, anytime you feel ashamed and anytime you feel abused. And when I use that word abuse, I don't just mean physical abuse or even harsh verbal abuse, but subtle little verbal abuse or even subtle little physical abuse. My mother had this habit. She's a very high functioning person who did a lot in our community. And so she would be on the phone, setting up meetings and doing things. And if we tried to interrupt her, she would snap her fingers at us. Actually, I didn't like that. So if I hear finger snapping, I have to be careful because some people go snap, snap, snap today. It means something great. I'm like, I've got something in my past that causes me to be just a little off about that. Because there's probably a little bit of shame, like I was trying to interrupt my mom when she was on the phone. You see what I'm saying here? So it could be something so subtle and also something way back in your past, something you're ashamed of, or I think I actually felt a little shame for her having to like shush us or something. I don't know. There's something in there. Do you know what I'm saying? So ashamed, abused, those are your A's. I just want you to start to be aware, because when you feel those emotions prime you to go into fight or flight. If you don't trigger fight or flight, you're going to be able to respond to that emotion with your full brain. But if you trigger fight or flight, your cortex and your hippocampus are going to shut down. That means your ability to make decisions, your willpower, there's 2 spots in the brain for willpower, and your memory are going to shut down somewhat. This is why if you meet someone in a social situation and they tell you their name and 5 seconds later, you're like, what's their name? I can't remember their name. Then you're embarrassed because you can't remember their name. Then you're tighter, your body's tighter. Like it's not fun because like you can't remember their name and now you're going to see them again. So all of this happens in a split second. Actually, it happens in about 10 seconds that you go into fight or flight for all these different 8 emotions. So you want to be on the lookout because when you do trigger fight or flight, it's not just adrenaline. We got a lot of A words here at the beginning of this. It's not just adrenaline that goes out. It's a cocktail. I like to say that you're now under the influence. And here's the deal. If you're a male listening to me right now, it's going to take your body up to 9 hours before all of your cells clear all those hormones out and you're back to normal. For females, can be up to a 24-hour cycle, which is insane, right? It's like, oh my gosh. When I learned that, I cried. It's like, I've tried to keep my body healthy. I've never taken a puff of a cigarette. I've had to smell secondhand smoke sometimes. I've never done coke. I've never done marijuana. I'm not interested in any of that because I really love life. I love how I live. I don't need anything else to make me feel good. However, I was triggering these chemicals inside my body that were wearing at my brain, causing me to say things and do things I would later regret, and basically messing up every single one of my systems and every one of my organs. Because the side effects of this cocktail of hormones causes all mental and physical chronic disease and exacerbates all diseases in our body. So that's really, really important to know. Stress is not the silent killer. Stress hormones are. You could love a lot of stressful situations. Maybe you thrive in that kind of environment as long as you don't trigger the stress hormones. Most of the type A high achievers that I coach do really well in rather stressful situations, or situations other people don't even want to deal with. They're good at that. However, they get home and they get annoyed. Me, I got annoyed because there's dirty socks on the floor. There's something out of place. I would get annoyed at all sorts of little things. I'm annoyed if people don't speak fast enough. Come on, get it out, spit it out. I'm from the East Coast, okay? So I'm used to things going a little quicker than here in the Midwest where I've lived since 1980s. So it's like pacing was a thing for me. I was annoyed when things are going a little too slowly for what I'm used to. So once we trigger fight or flight and these hormones go out, they cause us to go into what I call the B behaviors, okay? Behaviors like being really bossy. You might even be bullying people. People say, wow, you're kind of a bully. You don't even realize it. Because when we go into fight or flight, we're just trying to protect ourselves so we can get aggressive or we'll run away and hide. Does that make sense? So if you're naturally aggressive, people are like, wow, you're so bossy, you bully people, you're aggressive. Or you may be really, excuse the word, bitchy. You snap at people. You're like, because you want things done yesterday. You want to keep the ball rolling. And so you've got this kind of attitude and people don't really like that. They don't respect you when you move into that behavior. Some people blame. They kind of run away a little bit and start finger pointing. Oh, it's his fault that I didn't get that project done, or it's the kid's fault that I didn't get to do this thing tonight. We finger point, we blame. Some people binge. They binge alcohol, they binge weed, they binge cigarettes, they binge chocolate, ice cream, cheeseburgers. I heard it all. Like secret stashes of things in their office drawer. For me, it was the grandma cookies in the vending machine at Heritage Tower in Battle Creek, Michigan. They had one vending machine in all 20 floors, right? And I would go down there and they had these grandma cookies, and that would be like oh my gosh, I just need something chocolatey and sugary right now. So we might binge, you might, kind of overdo it, stress eat. Some people will tell me this, they go, you know what, Elle, I feel like my brain is broken. It really stirs my heart when I hear that too. like things just aren't functioning well here. I'm in so much overwhelm and this is just not functioning well. And then of course, burnout, like just plain overwhelm, burnout, done. So those are the B behaviors that we go into when we've triggered fight or flight, especially if we're triggering it over and over and over again throughout our day. You might get up in the morning and do one thing that causes a release of these hormones, and then you're on the spiral, the downward spiral. There was one study out several years ago that said if you commute even just 15 minutes to work, just 15 minutes will cause you, there's going to be something in that 15 minutes that will cause you to trigger fight or flight. Maybe you're waiting too long at a light. Maybe somebody's cut you off on the highway. Maybe you're behind a funeral. You know, there's just something. Maybe you have to wait for a school bus in the morning. There'll be something that causes you to trigger fight or flight. So the C words in these ABCs of pressure free are the things that my clients have said, this is how I feel now that I use pressure free. I feel calmer. I feel more confident. I feel courageous. I have a new client and that's his. He's like, I want to just feel more courageous. Like I've really got this, you know, competent and congruent. So congruent, what I mean by that is you're not in imposter syndrome. You're not comparing yourself to everybody else anymore either. The outside and the inside are matching and you feel good. You feel calm, confident, like you've got this. One woman I was working with said, you know, I just want to feel more in control of my emotions. That's what pressure free can do for you. And it's not like you have to control this way and like shove things down, but you actually get to open up. You get to feel your emotion, but you're choosing, it's another C word, CH, not to overreact. You have choice, true choice in what's going to happen next in your life. And when you make that choice, what happens to your day? What happens to your month, your year, your life? But most of us are overreacting and choosing and choosing and choosing. And then we get into that burnout and overwhelm deal. So the D's bring success for you. So if you're watching this, you decided, which means you cut off other options. You're not Netflixing, you're not whatever you're going to do instead. You cut off other options to be right here and learn something with me tonight. And I really applaud you. I thank you for being with me. I thank you for wanting to learn this. And if you're watching the recording, bravo to you for just wanting to learn something new. So you made a decision, cut off other options. It's going to take a little doing. We're not just sitting on our butts and pressure free. We don't just become couch potatoes. You're going to be doing things by the end of this that are going to move you in a positive direction. Actually, I don't even call it a positive direction. I'm really not interested in positive mindset. I'm interested in optimal mindset. It's different than positive mindset. It's truly incredible. It's like that in the zone feeling that athletes talk about and musicians talk about. That's what I'm after. That's what I share with my clients, how to get there. So it takes a little determination, but pressure free then just becomes a daily discipline. It's a lifestyle. In fact, I'm grabbing onto that because I have a client who I've been working with. She's an executive, and she wrote to me the other day. She goes, I love this lifestyle. It's a way of living, especially helpful to high achievers, to type A's, to people who have a wide bandwidth. You like to do a lot of things, and you don't like it when people tell you to slow down. You don't like it when people say, hey, I think you need a vacation, because you usually come back from the vacation needing a vacation because you really love work. You love what you do and you want to do more. You want to add more things to your plate. It's totally possible when you're pressure free. It's not so possible when we're in the stress hormone mess, though. In fact, you might feel really stuck, like you're not getting everything done, like you're a bit of a failure because you're so stuck in there. So the big D word in my alphabet here with you is deserving. This is super, super important if you've had trauma in your past, if you've had things that have happened in your past, or people in your past that told you you'd never amount to anything, or you yourself in your head say like, I'll just never be good enough. I just don't think I can do this. So I want you to imagine for a moment that you're open in your heart and there's this big, beautiful key that is going to start to turn in there. It's like, yes, I deserve to have a beautiful life. I deserve to have an amazing life. I truly believe you do. So it's like stepping into this little bit of hope that you deserve to have a fulfilling, beautiful life. So those are the D's. The E's are more words like the C words. So I like to joke that in my class, you don't want A's, B's, or F's. You want C's, D's, and E's. So the E's are enlightened, empowered. By the end of this, I want you to be enlightened about your body, about what's going down with your mind-body connection, how your biology is fueling and deciding what happens here, so that you really are empowered from the inside out. You're not looking for approval from outside. You are empowered from the inside. You're going to know more about fight or flight by the end of this than your physician probably knows. You could probably teach them something, by the way, because every physician I have coached, they don't know what I'm teaching you tonight. They don't know it. Every psychologist and therapist and social worker I have coached in groups and privately, they don't know this. It's my expertise. I come to it as a performer in a totally different way because I want to perform great. My violin, as a mother, as a wife, in like all the things I do, as a business owner. So empowered, enlightened, and then also energized and exhilarated. When you go an entire day and you don't trigger the fight or flight stress response, it's like you just hit the big reset button. It's like you just, for the first time, probably in your whole life, allowed your body to truly sleep, allowed your body to renew, rejuvenate, and actually come back to life the way it's supposed to, really rest. So in the morning, after that breakthrough day, you feel energized. My one son said, "Mother, I feel exhilarated and calm, both at the same time." What is that? It's like we're going to coin a word, calmzilarated. So those are your E words. The F's: fight, flight, freeze. So some people want to fight. They want to get aggressive. And it's just your natural proclivity to want to protect yourself by fighting. Some people's natural proclivity, and of course it's all situational, you might do different things in different situations, is to run away. It's like Monty Python, run away, right? We're going to run away to protect ourselves and pull our covers back up over our heads, or go in some cave for 5 weeks. We're just going to run away from our problems. We're just going to run away from this thing we have to do. And then freeze. So some people freeze like a deer or bunny in the headlights, like they're just totally frozen. Here's 2 more. I learned one from one of my clients, a wonderful client of mine, who is an adult with ADHD and had been to many conferences. And she goes, "You need to add fib." Fib is making up little lies to protect your butt. Like your boss may say, "Hey, do you have that project done yet?" And you know you'll get it done by the deadline, but you haven't even started, and you'll go, "Oh yeah, it's almost done, but it's not done yet." Those little lies to protect yourself. It's because you've gone into fight or flight and you're making up the story because you're scared. And then fawning. I got this from a friend of mine who works in childhood trauma, and she said fawning is something people do when they go into fight or flight. It's like saying, "Oh gosh, I love your sweater so much. Oh my goodness, what a cool house you have." Like you're trying to be a part of the tribe, so you overdo it. You'll talk faster, you'll talk higher. So fawning is another response when we go into fight or flight. That's something you might do. So those are your F's. Also fidget. If you like click pens or bite your fingers or tap or you jiggle your leg. Ding, 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 ding. I was a leg jiggler as a little girl. My mother would always put her hand on it in church, like ding, 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 ding. It's always jiggling. So are you fidgeting? Are you moving around? There's a reason for that too. When you release all that adrenaline, your reflex is hyper. That's why I've seen ball players like overthrow when they're nervous. Sometimes they throw so hard, the reflexes, and it just goes down into the dirt instead of first base. So our reflex is hyper. You'll be better in practice than you are in the game because you triggered fight or flight. And you might have triggered it the night before, not even the day of, but it's still affecting you. So those are your F's. The G words are goal setting. It's very, very difficult to set and achieve goals when you're in the stress response. When we can break that stress response for you, that stress cycle, you're going to be able to set some goals and start attaining them because your brain is finally really working for you the way it's supposed to. Then the other two words are what I want you to be starting tonight. I want you to be much more generous and gentle with yourself. Generous and gentle. We're in this fast-paced society. That's why I played that little Doobie Brothers for you, okay? I ain't got no worries because I ain't in no hurry at all. If you just stopped being in a hurry, you wouldn't have as many worries. We're a very fast-paced society for the most part. People are just running around with their heads cut off, right? My mother used to say that. I don't know why she's so much on my mind tonight. It's interesting. And it's kind of strange too. Like, we're such an instant society. Grab a little box and go tick, 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 right? And get the answer. But this is about process. Pressure-free is a process. It's a lifestyle. It's going to take you a little bit. In fact, it usually takes my private clients who are working one-on-one with me between 4 and 8 weeks to break the stress cycle. Okay, because we've got habits of reaction we've had since before we were born. We were triggering the stress response when we were still inside our mothers. So it's not your fault. Then you come out into the world and you're reacting to all the stuff around you. And if your mom had postpartum depression, she wasn't smiling at you very much. And that probably upset her partner, your father, whoever else was in the house too. So now everybody's a little bit upset. Or maybe you were a colicky baby. Oh, God forbid, right? So now everybody's like, they look at your face and their face is like, colicky baby, right? So we imitate all of that. You've emulated your coaches, your teachers, anybody you looked up to too. So you've put little habits of reaction in. If you had a coach you threw the clipboard, you might have this little think it's like, and you love that coach, like, let's be Bobby Knight, right? Throw the clipboard, go crazy. So we have all these influences. And when I work with my clients, we're breaking habits of reaction that are generations old and also from a lot of different people. So you're complex. This method I'm going to share with you tonight, it's really simple, but you're really complex, which is why in my courses, I've built over 40 tools to help you break that stress cycle. It's going to take some work because it took you this long to get the way you are. Does that make sense? So, all right, let's see, I gave you the G's. Oh, the H's. The H's are my favorite because they can be a tool. So imagine a leather tool belt. We already have music in there, construction worker tool belt. If you don't like a tool belt, you can have a tote bag or, a diaper bag or whatever it is you want to carry around. But it has pockets, One of my students, she is a farmer. So she has an egg apron that can have like 13, I think it has 13 little pockets for a baker's dozen. Where you put the little eggs. So her egg apron is where she puts her tools. So you come up with whatever you want. Mine is a leather construction tool belt, construction worker tool belt, and I'm loading the tools. You've got music in there first. This next one, and I want to thank my body coach, Leela Veronica, out in Colorado. She's absolutely amazing. If you need someone to help you with your body, she's the best. And so I've amalgamated my tools and her tools into this little set of H tools. So the first is your heart space. I want you to take your shoulders and go really wide for a moment. Oh my gosh, my spine cracked. So when you go wide with your shoulders, you're opening up your heart space. And you can even feel it down into your ribs where you just go wide with your ribs and just kind of open up that whole space. Can feel a little vulnerable because you just opened up your heart. You don't have to be afraid with me, okay? There's no, this is a judgment-free zone. And also unconditional love and support here. That's what I provide my clients. That's what I'm providing you. There's no judgment. So when you go wide with your shoulders, you open up your heart. Now you can connect to people more. Also, it really helps all your organs and your spine. Now your blood vessels and nerves are all flowing a little more freely inside of you. You're coming alive. Plus, most of the stress that we have is up here. So you need to get out of your head and into your body. And the H's are the fastest way. Next one's kind of funny, but I want you to sit up a little bit and grab your butt, pull it back, So you're sitting on your hamstrings or your femur bones, okay? Not on your butt. Your butt's more up by your spine. So our glute muscles, our butt muscles, have two purposes. One is to support our lower back, and a lot of people have a lot of back pain. I used to, and to propel us forward. So when you sit like that, you're now in action mode. So your heart space is open and you're more in action mode. So play with that. It's really fun. Secondly, your head. We're on our phones a lot, like on our computers. We're down in this little world and usually have RBF, right? Doing this, right? So I encourage you to get your head up and look out to the horizon now and then. It's pitch black where I live here because I live near the forest. But if you can get your head up and actually look out more often, it's going to be helpful. If you're in a cubicle with no windows, if your bedroom doesn't have windows, put something beautiful, like, see, I have my birch trees back here, like get your head up and look out at your trees, whatever picture you put up there, a sunrise or whatever, so that your head is up a little more. And the reason this is a pressure-free tool is because when your head is up and your posture is open, you're over your problem and you can solve it now. I'm going to demonstrate with my violin. So my violin students will play along. I'll make a mistake, right? Oh no. So they go like this, oh God, I make a mistake. And I would say to them, stop, stay up, smile, keep your posture up. We can solve this. But we've been so conditioned that when we make a mistake, that we're bad, we're failures, we'll never get it right. So we go dark and small and we tighten. So when you open and get your head up, it's like you're up and over your problem. We can solve it now. You don't have to overreact to the 2 notes wrong. We don't have to overreact. We can stay calm and solve it. Fancy that. But we've been conditioned to overreact in so many ways in our society. Media today wants you to overreact like crazy so you stay hooked, adrenaline hooked to their show. What's going to happen next with COVID? My God, it's like a huge story that just is blooming more and more every day. And we just get so hooked in because we've got adrenaline coursing through our veins. And then the second flood goes out. So after the adrenaline flood, the second flood of hormones that goes out are called glucocorticoids. You hear a lot about cortisol today. People are taking CBD and THC to try and dampen down cortisol. Here's the deal. You need cortisol. You need glucose and cortisol to go out if you've triggered adrenaline, because your body is perfectly made. When you release adrenaline, later on, the glucocorticoids are going to go out to fix your brain cells and your extremities, where you wicked and pulled fat and glucose out of all these cells to fight or run away. Glucocorticoids, so glucose and cortisol, are going to power you back up. It's fantastic. And it's so important to allow your body to do that. You don't want to eliminate the cortisol flow. Don't do it. I don't know what's going to happen to all these people brain-wise, because your brain cells are on a precipice. One neurobiologist says it's like they're stacked on the edge of a cliff. We need to get them their nutrients. So that flood is going to go out. And of course, it has a lot of side effects too. It takes me over an hour to describe all the side effects, by the way. It's a big deal. A lot of things. 2 things I want to note tonight, especially because I'm talking about anxiety and depression. When the glucocorticoids go out, they can cause you to stay awake. Cortisol is a wake-up drug. So you might have gotten to sleep, but at 2 or 3 a.m., you're like wide awake, or you're having trouble getting to sleep. And that's because this flood of hormones is telling your brain to wake up. So you're not crazy. Like this is just biology causing you to feel this. And second of all, cortisol can make you feel anxious for no reason. So you'll have kind of like, why am I worried? I shouldn't be worried here. I should be okay. Like I'm safe. I'm in my house. I'm in my bedroom. Whatever you're saying, but it's not computing because for some reason, these hormones actually make you feel a little anxious. Again, your biology is informing your psychology. So half of the time that you're feeling like you have anxiety, half of that time, it's solely because of your biology. And even the first time you released the flood of hormones, right? This is so huge because I hope you're getting it now. Like, if I can show you how to break the stress cycle and not release those hormones, the second flood isn't going to go out. The second flood messes with your thyroid. It causes you to build even more stress fat. So both floods bring fat to the center of our bodies, which is why, where do we build a lot of fat? In our torsos and in the little hump right back here, so that we have enough fat if we were in the cave for 5 weeks and couldn't get to food. But we're in the 21st century, got a lot of food, got too much food all around us. So we binge eat instead. Or some people can't eat when they trigger fight or flight. Every one of your systems, like, where do you feel it? Do you have headaches? Do you have TMJ? Do you grind your teeth? Do you have trouble with your vision? I have a client right now who's taking off her glasses because she doesn't need them to read music anymore. She's like, I don't need them on anymore because nutrients are finally getting to her eyes correctly. We shut down our ability to process food when we go into fight or flight. So that's why our skin gets all gnarly. I used to have horrible bands of stress acne all over my cheeks and eczema all over my hands. I would never show you my hands on camera before 2010. I just wouldn't. Some people, their hair gets thicker and healthier. These are the things they see when they stop triggering those hormones. So you've got your H's. Stay in this beautiful H frame. It's really going to help you as I teach you the 3 steps of pressure free. So the first step of pressure free are targets. Targets are, what are you aiming for? What do you want? What's important to you? Maybe you want a promotion at work or to make more money in your business. Maybe you're an athlete, you want to perform better in your athletics. Maybe you're in the performing arts and you want to perform better on stage. Maybe you just want to perform your day better and make a sandwich without freaking out. Or getting the kids to school without yelling, hurry up, we're going to be late. Maybe that's the performance that you want. So there's performance, how you want to do things. Then there's health. Maybe you have a chronic issue or disease. If anyone had told me in 2010 that in 8 weeks my eczema would clear up from using this method, I would be completely in disbelief. I would be hypercritical and completely skeptical. I had suffered from that disease for 35 years. There was no way that this hand was not going to be cracked, bleeding knuckles. That's what I had lived with for 35 years. And now look at it. I mean, I can't even believe it's my hand. It's like, I never had skin like this. This is my skin now. It's ridiculous. Can make you cry. There's other things that happen to me that are rather private, but if you want to know more, I will reveal in a private conversation all the things that have happened since I've become pressure free, that have changed chronic things that I've had for many, many decades. So what have you had for a period of years or decades? Or what are you afraid of getting? Are you afraid of getting cancer? Are you afraid of having heart disease? Because, oh, you're right on the edge right now when it comes to your heart markers. Like, what is it that you want to shift or change health-wise? Mental health-wise and physical health-wise. Have you been in chronic anxiety for years? Then please reach out to me. Please, let's talk. Because I really feel that you don't need to suffer like that anymore. When you can work on this with me, we can help you break that. If you've been in depression, on and off depression or chronic depression, please let's talk, because you shouldn't have to live that way. Your biology is informing your psychology, and we can retrain your biology because you're brilliant. And this method is simple. So whatever is in your health situation, what do you want it to be? How would you like it to be? If you have type 2 diabetes, every time you trigger fight or flight, you release 2 different floods of hormones, Both have glucose in the blood, put glucose in the bloodstream. Has nothing to do with food and exercise. It's stress. We can change that so much. And then you won't binge eat and eat all the wrong foods because you'll have the willpower to be able to choose the foods that work for you, not against you. Do you see how this is like all coming together? It's like untangling a huge snarl, right? It's figuring it all out, which is what I have somehow been blessed to be able to do. All right, so where am I here? Step 1, targets. Oh yeah, there's also relationships targets. So some people want a better one-on-one relationship with someone. Maybe you want a better relationship with your coworkers or your big family in general or friends. Maybe you feel like you self-sabotage your relationships and you're good for a little while and then just all crashes and burns. It can be different for you when your heart is open, when you're not saying and doing things you later regret because you overreacted. It's usually the overreaction that's eroding our relationships. I know that's the case for me. I ruined a lot of friendships because I overreacted in ways that I look back and say, wow, that was pretty stupid, right? So relationships. Second step of the pressure free method are triggers. So I got the T words going on here for you now. Targets, triggers. What? Everybody uses that word today. When I started this method, you rarely heard it. Everybody uses it now. I might change it all up at some point, but this is what it means. What makes you feel angry or annoyed, anxious or afraid, ashamed or abused? What makes you feel any of those things? Because that's going to set you on a course to trigger these hormones. So write them down. See if you can uncover a couple that you might do first thing in the morning. Like if you burn your toast or something. If I smell burning in the kitchen, it drives me crazy. It's definitely a trigger for me. So is there something first thing in the morning that if that thing happens, so definitely a trigger for you? If you can identify some of those early ones, that's going to set you up for a totally different day. And how about in the evening? We usually have a whole set of little triggers going on at night too. I have really, really, really good ears, and we still live in this really old house, a lot of creaking, a lot of stuff. And I would just be like, honey, somebody's downstairs. I'd totally go into fight or flight if I heard a noise that I thought should not be happening in our house. It happened way too often. So what is it that you trigger over? Sounds, smells, sensory things, the way fabrics feel on you, getting behind an oil burner car. That indoor air button, by the way, is my favorite button on my car, because if I start to smell any kind of nasty thing, I'm going through Gary, Indiana smoke or whatever it is. Gary, I want to help you clean up your air. Whatever it is, let's put that indoor air button on, because that will trigger me. So what are your triggers? See if you can identify a couple and be gentle with yourself. Remember, generous and gentle, because you may see a lot like right away, but you just want to work on a couple at a time. Be step by step with this. Okay, so step 3, tools and the 10-second solution. I'm an action chick. That's what my husband's called me for years. I like to take action. And one of my sons, my eldest, Hugh, he came up with the phrase, action cures all anxiety. Most of us sit and stew in our anxiety, like we're just stuck, we're frozen. But if you can take one step and actually get a little traction going, it can really help you. By the way, I don't think you should go out of your comfort zone like everybody's telling you to. I think you should expand first and then take the step. Because sometimes if you're trying to break the comfort zone, you'll trigger fight or flight, and it's not good for you. There's a better way. The better way is to expand that zone and step into it. Stay in your zone. I want you to be in the zone all the time. And you can do it, you can expand, because you're going to have all the tools when I teach them to you. Tonight, we're just going to do a couple. But tools in the 10-second solution from a resting heart rate. I hope you're on a resting heart rate with me here, unless you're listening to this while you're running or something. But from a resting heart rate, it takes about 10 seconds before that adrenaline, the catecholamine cocktail, releases from your adrenal glands. That's because your brain, all the mechanisms in here, your amygdala and all these other little things have to tell your heart rate to go up to tell the adrenal glands to release. Okay? Takes about 10 seconds. 1001, 1002. I never wait that long, okay? So that's plenty of time to smile or laugh. That's plenty of time to think of your favorite piece of music that changes your state immediately. That's plenty of time to go wide with your shoulders. That's plenty of time to do all of the different tools that I teach in my course. And it's pure brilliance, because when you use one of those tools, you still feel the emotion. We're not stuffing anything. You feel the emotion, but we're not overreacting and releasing this flood of hormones that's going to corrupt all of this for you. So you just gave yourself quality life. Oh, I always get kind of teary when I say that, but it's true. It's like you just gave yourself a little slice of beautiful life before the next trigger comes along. Might be 5 seconds from now, right? But you just gave yourself this beautiful little amount of time where you didn't have hormones coursing through. By the way, I want you to celebrate, even if you did release the hormones and you feel your face turn red or get jittery or whatever the thing is that it does to you. I still want you to celebrate because you noticed a trigger, and the next time that trigger comes along, you'll probably be able to stop it better. So I'm going to give you my most famous starter tool. I'm kind of known for the starter tool. And that's because I do a lot with wheels, okay, turning. That's why the turning the key deep inside here, because you deserve to have a great life. So most of us are running inside the hamster wheel, right? Oh, it's exhausting. It's exhausting. And your weight is in the wheel. It's really exhausting. I want you to get out of the wheel and come around behind it and turn it into this beautiful little Ferris wheel. Put whatever colors you want, lights, whatever. Just imaginary Ferris wheel and push it up, okay? So I want you to do this with me. So go ahead and push your Ferris wheel in the air. It's spinning. Okay, so when the Ferris wheel is spinning, that represents the energy of your life. Just gave yourself quality life. I took this tool, by the way, from Jim Collins's book, Good to Great, where he talks about the flywheel needing to spin in order for momentum to happen. Okay, this whole deal he does, but I just keep it simple. It's a Ferris wheel because nobody knows what a flywheel is. So Ferris wheel. Put your arms up again, and now bring your arms down, but keep your ribs right where you are, right where they are, and you'll see that your heart is open. So you can push the Ferris wheel fast or slowly, as one of my clients does. It's your choice. Some people put things on the Ferris wheel. I don't, but I do have a client who used to put her stepmother on and give her a little ride. Another who would put a work project on, give it a little ride, and then it's going to circle back around. You can take it off when you're calmer and get back to work. So you can play with this Ferris wheel any way you want. My clients come up with all kinds of cool ways to do it. I actually had a client who went to a real Ferris wheel and pretended to try to push it. So have some fun with this idea, because celebrate is important. We don't celebrate enough in North America. Now, this Ferris wheel incorporates 3 different tools. So you can use the tools separately or just do the Ferris wheel and it's all going to happen. A large motion, so a gross motor motion, helps the adult brain actually create new neural pathways. When you were growing up, your cortex grew from back to front, and big motion, running, monkey bars, climbing, jumping, all that stuff is what helps it grow, which is why if you medicate a child because they want to move, their cortex is actually retarded. I don't know why we would do that. The growth of it is not as fast because you need big motion in order for that to happen. We need children to move, like I used to as a kid. Kindergarten, we were either singing, dancing, recess, or playing with big things, big motions in the classroom. I don't understand what's happening today, honestly. We knew a lot more in the 70s than we do now. That's all I can say. We treated children so much better back then than we do now. It's incredible. So, sorry, I got a little tangent there. But we're pushing this Ferris wheel, all right? It's funny, so you will also smile. Got a gross motor motion that opens the neural pathways. Smiling keeps dopamine flowing. You've probably learned about dopamine as it's referred to with addiction. However, dopamine is a neurotransmitter required for your entire cortex and your hippocampus to work. We shut it off in fight or flight. Most of the time, you don't feel good. So when you can keep dopamine on with a smile on your face, just a slight curve up, dopamine enough releases that it keeps all this working for you. Now you can choose. Now you can think clearly. You have cognitive functioning and memory working for you now. If you have test anxiety, this is huge. If you can't push your arms in the air, just smile and lift your posture, because the pushing is going to lift your posture. I want you to lift your posture too. Get up and over your problem so you can solve it. So smile, posture, gross motor motion. Ferris wheel does it all. Okay. So you've got a few tools tonight. You've got music in there. You've got going wide. And I'm going to give you one more to close out tonight, because so many people don't know this. But if you place a hand on your belly and you relax your abdominal muscles, so I don't care how fat we all look, all right? Just relax. Let it all hang out. Just relax. When you relax those muscles, you actually tell your brain that you're okay, because your abs are body armor for your precious organs down there. So when you relax your abs, you tell your brain you're okay. That is super powerful. I was helping a client the other day as they were driving to an appointment, and I just had them relax their abs. And now your hands aren't so clenched on the steering wheel. Now smile a little bit. Okay. I think it's just step by step. It's not hard. You can do this. You can do this, and you literally save your life when you do it. You save yourself from so much self-sabotage, from so much that you later regret, from so much damage to your brain and your body. So it's not rocket science, you guys. Targets, triggers, tools. Keep it simple. Make those targets big, dream big, because I really want you to be free of fight or flight. I really, really do. Targets, triggers, what's causing you to trigger fight or flight. Figure it out. It could be so tiny and so subtle, and it's a game changer for you. And then start working with some of these tools. Relax your abs, smile a little bit, push the Ferris wheel, put that piece of music in your head, because I ain't got no worries, because I ain't in no hurry at all. Right? So that is the power of Pressure Free. It has transformed hundreds and hundreds of people's lives who have worked privately with me. And I've coached thousands of people in groups. And those people are, I don't know if they're learning it or not, but I bet you they still remember the crazy lady who told them about the celebration Ferris wheel. Because who talks about that, right? So I hope this has made sense for you, because there's so many myths about stress. If people say you need to take time off and slow down, total myth. Total myth. Yeah, you might feel good in the short run, but if you can't slow down and you can't take time off, you don't need to de-stress. You just need to stop releasing the stress hormones. Does that make sense? I used to think, have my stressful day, and then I did everything perfectly at night to relax, be with my kids, my husband, blah, you know, all that stuff. No, I was triggering stress hormones at least 100 times a day. That's not how it works. That's why I could never get rid of my eczema. So you can do this. It's not rocket science, but it is, you are complex. So if you need help, just drop me a private message. If you're in Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever you are, just drop me a private message, or you can go to my website, ElleIngalls.com, and let's have a private talk. Just click contact. It'll take you right to my online calendar. I also have some online courses on there. You can take a look at that too. But really the best thing to do, while I still can, because I'm getting a little bit more in demand now, but while I still can, let's have a private conversation and see if Pressure Free is right for you, or if one of my programs or my membership courses is what's right for you. So I'll share all of that with you, because you're worth it. You deserve a beautiful life. It's something I really stand for, is that you deserve a beautiful, fulfilling life. And Pressure Free is one of the fastest ways for you to get a handle on the things that are not working in your life so you can really experience your true potential and what you were born to do on this planet. So thank you so much for being with me. And I'm going to close out from Facebook here and go to my people who are on the webinar. So have a great pressure-free day, night, whenever you're watching this. And I hope you'll tune in some more. Bye.